welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome to another episode of my Time to Buy series, where I look at, well, essentially modern classic sports and supercars and discuss whether now could be a good time to buy them, whether that's because they've suffered the biggest hit of depreciation they're likely to face, or maybe they've become increasingly rare, or perhaps they just represent a bygone era of the automotive world. Well, today, with huge thanks to Decca Motors, I'm finally going to be experiencing a car that I've lusted after ever since it launched 13 years ago. Of course, the Mercedes CLK63 AMG Black Series. Okay, the name is a bit of a mouthful, but the car, I think, is a modern classic icon. Back in 2007, Mercedes said that this was going to go up against the Porsche 911 GT3 RS of the time. And okay, fine, now with the AMG GTR and the AMG GTR Black Series, that doesn't seem like such a kind of crazy concept. But back in 2007, it did seem mad for Mercedes to try and take on Porsche. The reason I'm including it today in the Time to Buy series is because back in 2007, if you wanted a Black Series, you would have had to pay 100 grand to get one. Well, some 13 years later, if you wanted to buy this Black Series from Decca Motors, it's going to cost you 100 grand. Literally, they have not lost money. That's quite a ridiculous thing to say. So why? Why is this thing so valuable today? That's what I want to discover, because apart from the fact it looks amazingly cool, I think it has to drive insanely well to kind of warrant that price tag. So let's find out if that's true. Yes, we're going to be experiencing this beast for my first time. Well, here you go. You now find me inside in the driver's seat, and you might be able to see behind me, no rear seats. From that point of view, they were trying to save some weight, so you lose a little bit of practicality, but actually I think it adds to the coolness. On top of that, a ton of carbon fibre. I mean, look at this door card, absolutely insane, embossed with the AMG logo. We've got these amazing race seats, which hug me so well. I love the look of them. This very bizarre steering wheel, which has kind of been squashed from the top and the side. And one thing I wasn't expecting is it's a little bit offset. Apparently this is a thing from Mercedes of that era. They were all just a little bit offset to the left, so I feel like I'm sitting right on the edge of the car, and then the steering wheel and so the pedals are just a little bit to the left. Insanely retro screen and buttons, a lot of blank buttons that I assume do things in normal CLKs, but here in the Black Series do nothing, so they're just random black buttons. And then a very bizarre gear shifter. Now, something that I haven't really talked about yet is the potential downside for this car, because in all of my sort of research over the years, all of my reviews that I've read, the thing that people bang on about the most is the fact that the gearbox lets this car down. Actually, I probably should have said the gearbox lets this car down. I used my inverted commas in the wrong place. Because we have got AMG's Speed Shift 7-speed auto. Now, of course, back in the day, in 2007, this was considered a very good speedy gearbox. Of course, never as engaging as a full manual. And the GT3 RS, this car's rival, did of course have a manual gearbox. So a lot of people questioned it when it came out, saying, oh, why have they gone for auto? And then with age, as systems or as gearboxes got better and better, people started to go, oh, this one feels a bit slow and it really lets the car down. I'm really hoping that is not the case. And it's just people, just, well, getting things wrong. A lot of people slag off the Aston Martin V12 Vantage S Sport Shift gearbox. People slag off Ferrari's F1 gearbox, probably appropriately so. But yeah, I'm really hoping that this thing will actually be not as bad as people say. Apart from that, yes, as I mentioned, feels special in here, but all I really want to do is start this thing up and drive it, because that's what I'm so intrigued about. So let me just get my seating position done correctly. So, and that V8 just roars into life. Actually, it rumbles into life. So that's interesting. Let's see if it gets loud as we start to push on. There we go, moving that bizarre, tiny little gear lever. We'll wait for this other Mercedes E-Class to cruise on by. Also in red, go on lad, red Mercedes crew. But yes, I'm going to kick things off in a relatively subdued manner. Drive, but actually in sport. So yeah, auto gear shifts, but a sportier setting. Because I just want to see what it's like on a sort of everyday, daily basis. Because whilst this is very much a track-focused car, it is still supposed to be a car that you can use and live with every day. And the thing which I loved about the CLK Black Series is, apart from geeks like me and you guys out there, most people would just see it as a normal Mercedes. They wouldn't know that it was anything special. Okay, okay, fine, it has those crazily wide and flared wheel arches, but most people don't know what that means. It's only us that go, ah. Later Black Series models got big wings and fancy colours, and well, actually this one's red, isn't it? I forgot about that. But most CLK Black Series you see are black or silver, so they're just understated, and that was always part of the appeal, because yes, the GT3 RS of that time, the 997 era, was a bit shouty, lots of decals and big wings, and people went, oh, what's happened to your Porsche, mate? What's this? You just get away with being, you know, your standard Mercedes travelling salesman. Who knew? Who knew? Well, we knew. Anyway, there we go. That's my everyday usability test done. I will report back that the ride is extremely firm. I mean, I should have expected it to be this firm, but I didn't. It's very stiff, boys and girls, but this is a track weapon, and so that wide track and the stance of this thing, it's kind of always going to be a bit dialed in. I have to say, like this, in auto, it's already super engaging to drive. Like, before I knew it, we had some corners, and I was like, oh, hold on a sec, we're on our way here. So let's step things up a bit, go into manual gear select, and see what this thing has to offer. Coming down through some gears. Okay, my first moment of a gear not being the one I selected, but hey, maybe that was me using the paddles incorrectly, but I mean, yeah. You know what, the noise is different to how I expected. You know, a lot of more modern AMG, especially the C63 Black Series, the coupe, was really shouty. I think back in 2007 this would have been considered very loud, but as time has moved on, it's actually a little bit more subdued than I thought. Now we've annoyingly caught another Mercedes, but this time a van, so I'm just going to hold back a bit, because let's face it, we can go a little bit faster than he can. Okay, right, let's try a bit more of an acceleration here. Oh, squirmy, oh, very squirmy. I tell you what, the traction control's a little bit intrusive. I mean, it's an early system, I suppose, so I guess a bit basic in that sense. It feels like it's kind of holding back the power, so I imagine once you build up the confidence, which I'm not sure I'm going to be doing on this test drive, you probably want to drive it most of the time with traction off, because that's probably when you get the full enjoyability out of this thing. But I think the things that I'm really surprised by straight away are firstly, yes, how firm that ride is. Secondly, well, just how good it is on a sort of, just to drive. I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe it was going to be a bit cumbersome, maybe a bit heavy. I don't know what, but it actually feels really dialed in and like it wants many corners. I mean, the way this thing handles, I mean, I haven't really chucked it around a corner yet, but it feels like it wants to be chucked around a corner. It feels so dialed into the road. What's it going to do? There we go. Look, I made up my own chicane and we went around it very fast. Okay, now we've lost our Mercedes van, so hopefully once we get out of this small village, we can start to push on again. But yes, I'm actually really enjoying this so far. I was expecting to be disappointed, but so far I'm not, and I really do find this gearbox absolutely fine, if not good, compared to what Ferrari and Lambo were doing back in 2007. This is pretty speedy. Apart from that one downshift earlier, it hasn't really held me back. Oh, you can hear a few gargles coming out of that exhaust. And there's a bicycle in the middle of the road. Well played, sir. Here we are. This thing is just moving around the rear so much, and I've used about 40% of the throttle. Honestly, I can only imagine what happens when you absolutely stab that thing down. But yeah, oh my god, this car is so good. There's a lot of traction light. That was a lot of traction light. I mean, honestly, it's the perfect combination of AMG power and cruiser and something that you think you could just destroy German autobahns in, but then also lap the Nürburgring, the goddamn Nürburgring, so fast. So yes, I'm just going to come out and say it. Now is a good time to buy one of these because it's still a brilliant car. It's really quick, it's really usable, but it celebrates a different era, a slightly more analog era, a naturally aspirated V8 era, and maybe proper AMG. Because anyone who listens to my podcast will know that I bemoan the fact that AMG now make things like the C43, which, let's face it, is just, I mean, that is a slap to the face of us petrol heads. But this is proper AMG, proper brutality. It's kind of mad. It probably will kill you, but I think it's a good way to die. I don't think you would be upset dying in this car, especially not a red one, because God, it would look good in all the pictures. Honestly, and then you just, oh, there's something with a siren. It's an ambulance, we're all right, guys. Because yes, I accidentally applied the throttle a little bit too hard, and I was going a bit sideways. I mean, this thing, it's just hilarious. And who knows what future values will do, but I do find it amazing that they are still essentially list. It just blows me away. What a monster. Right, here we go again. Oh, I'm having to really modulate that throttle, but whoa. It's that low end grunt, actually. It's that initial sort of traction braking power that is what's so enjoyable. Once you start really building the speed, yes, it's good, but you kind of want to be just going through tight corners and moving around a bit and laughing and making noise. It's fun, and so many other cars aren't fun anymore. Bring back the fun. Buy yourself a CLK Black Series. What a beauty. Still haven't got used to this offset steering wheel though. That is a bit weird. The rest of it, amazing. Honestly. Back at the Decker Motors warehouse then, and I think maybe I got a little bit carried away towards the end there, but that's what happens when you drive your kind of boyhood heroes and they live up to some of the expectations you had from this car. Is just so cool. And then look at it next to a 488 Spider, and how up to date and cool does it still look? It's 13 years old, god damn it. But yes, absolutely adore this thing. But on reflection, you kind of have to see it as a bit of a toy. That firm ride, the kind of other elements of the car mean that you probably want to use it here and there rather than on an everyday basis. And when you start to think of it like that, you start to think of that 100 grand price tag, because you start to consider what else you could buy for that money. Because if this thing was around 60 grand, I think I would be so tempted to go and snap one up. I think at that price point, it's near on perfect. At 100, just starts to make it more of a collector's item. And I reckon that over the years ahead, these cars are going to be bought and sold, but maybe not driven that much. And that's a shame, because what a fantastic thing it is to drive. So yes, I implore you, if you are thinking about buying a Black Series, go and buy one. It's amazing, but drive it. Don't stick it away in a collection. And if it goes up in value, winner, chicken dinner. If not, who cares? Because you've still got an absolute monster. But anyway, huge shout out once again, and a huge thanks to Decker Motors. If you are interested in this car, go check out their website. But as you can see, they've got plenty of other juicy stuff lurking around. Give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and make sure you stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.